Haunt me, Daddy.
Hey. We do this every weekend, yet here we are, still
Never know how to start these
awkward.
things.
One day it'll be good. Welcome to Haunt Me,
Daddy. Week 5?
5.
This is
wow.
episode 5, I guess. We've
Zoom
already
in.
done a whole school week's worth of work. I hope you guys are enjoying. Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks
your
for
support. It's
listening.
awesome.
Since the last time we recorded was before the election, it was before Halloween, maybe.
I
It was
remember,
a lot of
but
stuff before, and now
we're in
here
a
we
better
are.
mood now.
Good things happened.
Yeah, and the best thing is happening tonight for me because my best friend is here.
How
Please
exciting.
welcome to the pod, Clyde Moser.
Hi! Hello, everyone. Big fan of the pod here. As a friend of the pod, I'm so glad to be here at Haunt Me Daddy.
Yeah.
Not only as a supernatural enthusiast, but also someone with daddy issues. So,
Hey, there it is.
very into it.
And I usually refer to you as my witch friend, so
Oh.
you know. One of my
I
few
appreciate
friends that I'm like, he's got powers. I'm a little bit
No.
afraid.
No,
But in the
maybe.
best way. But yeah, thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you
It
for
means a
joining
lot.
us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have
Very
you here.
excited.
When we decided to do this as a real thing, I was like, well, we have to have Clyde on
Oh, absolutely.
as soon as possible
Yeah.
because I feel like, and I hope you agree, I feel like we have a supernatural connection to each other.
You know, it's so funny that you said that because I was thinking when I was at work, when was the first time that I ever outed myself to Gibson as hey,
You're gay?
no, no, yes, and single, but no, I was trying to figure out when I came out to you about the supernatural stuff that I experienced, and I don't know if you remember this, but
Oh,
there was one day when we were walking, it had to be probably between Lovers and Players and Gay Card, or sometime during that time.
2015 is
Yeah,
when
or-
we became friends.
Or 2016.
Okay.
And we
Mhm.
were walking to my place when I lived on Percy Street.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about something, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to tell you this, thing that happened to me, but, if I explain it to you, I'm going to have to go into all this detail about my family stuff, and let me just talk about it. And that was the first time you ever told me, and I went into telling you about, me seeing ghosts and, weird psychic things that have ever happened to me.
A lot of your family history with
and
it,
then
too.
you were like, oh, well, that's okay, because my mom used to talk to ghosts in the closet, and we saw a ghost on the what's it called?
The Yorktown. Episode 1.
And, yeah, and
Yeah,
so,
I do remember this.
and we were
conversation.
walking on Spring Street, and
Yeah,
we were
in the middle of the night in downtown
yeah,
Charleston.
literally,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was one of the, and I said then, because the reason I thought about this, I was like, I feel like when people have these shared supernatural experiences, we kind of find each other. And I don't know if it's our auras or what it is,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
openness that we give off,
Totally.
but we just sort of find one another.
I totally agree with
Yeah,
that because that's
absolutely.
we've
Yeah.
talked about that before because he and I have kind of felt that too, and I mean, yeah, I think it's definitely some kind of unseen force that
Yeah.
brings people together.
Pushes us together. Yeah, absolutely.
It's mental illness in it. No, I'm just kidding.
Could be.
But I guess to go back, Clyde and I went to college together.
Yes.
We met there.
Clyde,
Nervous.
you're a year older in college.
Who?
Okay, I'm 2 years older, yes.
Okay.
In
Yes.
college years, 1 year older,
Okay.
due to the fact I did a
Yes.
5th year because
Okay.
I have 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh.
Educated.
Ooh.
But I don't know why I keep saying you
I'm not here.
played my dad in a show. It was my first main stage production where I was cast and you played my dad, and you played the dad of like our other friend, so it's like a thing.
Yeah.
And so you're pop to us. But yeah, and then we bonded over being crazy ghosty people, I guess.
Wow, we've come so far.
We really have. I
Here
was
we
just a
are.
little bebe.
I know.
And he
5 years
took
in the
me
making.
took me under his wing. Yeah, I'll never forget. You were doing that workshop for Gay Card the Musical, and it was
Yes.
during Tech of Lovers and Players where he played my dad, and he came up to me during Tech and was like, "So, do you sing? What's your deal? What's going on here?
What's happening?
What's your story?
What's
What's
happening
What's
here?"
this? What's happening?" And I was like, I don't know. Please like me, because he was a popular kid. We did a workshop together, and yeah, that kind of sealed the deal.
It really did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
So it's
bonded
been a
so
while
much.
of friendship, but let's get into the spooky stuff. I mean,
Oh,
I'm very
I love-
excited. I don't know any of
Yeah.
your
Oh.
spooky stuff, anything. So
This is so exciting.
We're going in
because
blind.
I'm-
Well, I am. You know a little bit, or
I do.
all of it. I don't know.
a little bit. There's a lot I don't know, though.
Okay,
I'm sure,
okay.
but
Yeah, but I'm really glad that Will is here because, like, who knows? Like, Gibson could have just been enabling all of my delusions for like.
I am known to do that. No.
So yeah, so this it makes me really happy that I get to talk about me.
Haunt me, Clyde. Haunt me.
I guess. Do you want to go back to the beginning?
When a man and a woman like each other very much. Just kidding. Yeah, so I would like to say that I do think that my life has been very affected by like things outside of like our natural world.
Right.
And I think it has been ever since I was born, just because of all the stories that I've heard from like my family, because my family, even though they're not the most outgoing of people, I'm like,
Which
the-
is hilarious
I
because
know.
you're the life of the party, no matter where you go.
My dad was very extroverted. My dad passed away, so hopefully in the future I'll see his ghost. But
Yeah.
as of right now, I've yet to. But everyone else in my family is very reserved, and when they talk about stuff like this, I always take it serious because they're not ones to just make up things.
Right.
Sure.
The first, I also want to say, like, you call me your witch friend, but I don't know if I'm necessarily, I don't know if I would consider myself a witch, but I do think there's like an intuitiveness or like an intuition
Right.
that comes along with everything. that I've
Witchy, I'll
experienced.
Yeah,
say.
yeah. I feel like, I mean, I don't know that much about witches, but also I feel like there's like different levels of witches.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure.
like I feel like I've met people and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I'm a blank witch," opposed to a blank witch, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know there were different kinds of witches. I thought they were just witches." So
Yeah.
maybe you're a blank witch, whatever that is.
A bad witch.
And that is something that I need to really look into. But I mean, all my life I've been like super connected to like and like drawn to witches. My first and favorite movie was this movie called The Worst Witch with Tim Curry. Look it up. It's got Caroline Rhea and Tim Curry and for Fairuza Balk, who is also in The Craft, another great movie
Oh,
about
Yes,
high
yes.
school witches
Mhm.
that I love. I was obsessed with Harry Potter, as is Gib,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
Charmed, and Hocus Pocus. I mean, Hocus Pocus to the point where I would put my broom, the kitchen broom, put it between the coffee table and the sofa, and ride it.
Dun, 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 dun,
And
dun.
break
I feel like we need to post the photo of you two dressed as
As a witch.
the witches. from
Oh,
Hocus
yeah.
Pocus.
Oh, yeah. I have.
We were the Sanderson
So-
sisters with our friend Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
I mean, I remember, this is so funny, because I grew up in North Carolina, and there's this
Mhm.
place called Tweetsie Railroad.
You did?
Yeah.
Where in North? Did we
You
talk
didn't know
about
that?
this? I feel like I knew this, but I didn't know.
Yeah. I was
Where-
born in Hickory,
Hickory. Okay, yes.
and then I grew up in Hildebrand.
I don't know where that is.
It's in Burke County, which is right outside of Asheville for anyone who
Yes,
doesn't care.
okay.
And then there's the Tweetsie Railroad. Did you ever go?
I think so, yeah.
Did you ever go during Halloween?
Absolutely not.
What the
Oh.
hell is a Tweetsie
So
Railroad?
Tweetsie
Wow.
Railroad was like one of the first passenger railroads in North
Oh.
Carolina.
Wow.
And so every
Choo choo.
Yeah. And so they have a whole bunch of rides, probably a whole bunch of problematic stuff, since there's a lot about the
I've totally been
Native
because I
American-
went with my dad
Okay.
during my parents' divorce, and that was like him rewarding, being like, "Thanks for choosing me for the weekend," and I was like,
I'm a
child."
It's kind of like a state fair, like all the time, with like a little railroad that you can actually get on and still use, and they'll do like reenactments of, you know, the Native Americans defending the land that we stole and all this kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
long story short, one of my first memories was my mom and my aunt dressed up as witches.
Oh, hell yeah,
Yes.
And they dressed me up as a vampire. And I cried the entire ride from my house to Tweetsie. Like, in the car, I was crying
'Cause
so
you were a
upset because I
vampire?
was a vampire, and my mom and my aunt got to be witches, and they left me out.
Wow.
And then
Is that this photo of you that's so cute as you as a vampire?
Yep.
You did look cute, but I understand it was upsetting.
yeah, I was
Just
like,
wanna
I
say.
want to be a witch. And my mom
Maybe
used
we'll
to
post
have
that picture.
this huge broom, phenomenal broom that she would just like hang up
that you didn't break.
that I did not break. I was
Okay,
not
okay.
allowed
That was
to
her
touch.
means of transportation.
No, I was like,
She
correct.
couldn't-
Yeah.
No, I'm so serious. I was not allowed to touch this broom.
Oh,
like
wow.
it was handmade and like
Mm.
beautiful, and it stayed in our storage room all the time growing up. And I remember just looking at it, being like convinced early as a child that my mom was secretly a witch and just like did not want to tell me.
Yeah.
I mean,
So so that's why I just want to preface. A lot of this could have just been my childhood overactive imagination.
but
Your mom also has a very open and intuitive
yeah.
vibe, and she's
Oh yeah.
has a peaceful aura about her. So I could definitely see her being a good witch.
When I was a child, I would always, talk to people that weren't there and see things or say things. And I remember when I was 2, my great-grandmother was on oxygen, and I knocked her breathing tube out of her nose. And she just laughed and, like, got over it. And I told this story to my mom multiple times, and she's like, "You cannot remember that. You were 2."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No,
no, I was the same way as a kid. Like
You
I
know?
like I can remember stuff from like being so, and my mom's like, "You can't," and I'm like, "Then why do I remember my shirt was green?" Like,
I'm like, no, I know. I can tell you everything about this woman who died
Shortly
like
after.
shortly after. Like, I know this woman in my heart of hearts.
Wow.
It's so weird. My grandma used to say that I would be like really fussy as a kid if like I knew if something like around something bad would happen. My grandma
Yeah.
was very much intuitive, and I think a lot of this stems from her. But when my sister was born, so these are like some of the first instances that I can think
Yeah.
of. When my sister was born, she was born a little early. I think she was born about 3 or 4 weeks early. And first of all, everyone thought my mom was going to have another boy, but I was like, no, I'm having a sister. And then I had a sister.
hey,
And then my grandma said the entire time that my mom was like in labor, I was just like upset and crying.
Yeah.
And there are these pictures of me in the hallway of the hospital, and like everything's like fuzzy, and there's like these like weird lights and stuff, and you can see. And my
I think you've showed me one
Yeah.
of these pictures, and,
And
it's
then-
very
Ooh.
orby. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they talk about
Interesting.
orbs
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's very, like, the
So, like,
light is weird.
Yeah, so like get this. So my great grandfather passed away a couple days before my sister was born.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
My sister was then born on my great grandfather's birthday,
What?
like prematurely, like 3 weeks early.
Ooh.
That's
And
weird.
then-
That is spooky.
And then flash forward 2 weeks, had to go back into the hospital because her intestines had not fully developed and almost died.
oh my
Oh my
god.
God.
So literally my grandma was like, CJ knew. She was like, CJ knew that something was wrong with that baby, and that's why he was upset the whole time.
Oh my god.
And then, get this. My sister was in the hospital in Winston-Salem for like a while. So I stayed with my grandma while my parents were at the hospital.
How are you with hospitals?
I do not.
Okay.
I do
We
not
talked
do
about
well.
this last
We talked about this
time.
last time because Daniel was talking about hospitals, and we were talking. I was like, "How are people with hospitals?" Because I think that Like, I grew up in a hospital, basically.
Gibson's been with me to the hospital many a time, and every time,
I'm trying to count.
and every time
A couple times.
every time I'm there, it's not a great
Not great.
It's
experience.
Not great.
never
Well,
like a
got it.
fun time for you. But it makes me feel good as a friend that like I get the phone call and I'm like, all right, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, what I was getting to is when I stayed with my grandma, she would drive to Winston-Salem.
How far away like was that
It's
from?
like I think that's like a 45 to an hour.
Okay, so
probably.
you were like a little bit separated from your mom and baby sister for a minute.
So I spent some time with my grandma while my sister was, having baby surgery. And
Yes.
Yes.
the technical term. Yes. And
The baby surgery.
This one time in particular, my grandma said I was over it. I was like so upset and crying in the car, when usually we would have the most fun in these car rides. And so she goes to pull off because she's like, oh, maybe like we need to get food or something. And I'm also like 3.5 years old.
Yeah.
And she was just like, I was in such a bad mood. And the moment she switched lanes, she was driving behind an 18-wheeler. One of the, you know how like the tire, like the rubber, popped off.
No.
And hit the car behind us.
Oh.
Like the moment she switched lanes.
Chills.
Yeah.
That is so
It's like
freaky.
Final Destination.
I was just
Ooh.
like, ugh, I don't know what it. Now I got.
You're
I
like
spooked myself.
you're like Baby Yoda secretly, like your little hand, like you made the tire go.
But literally, so like my grandma was she was convinced and was forever that I was just like clairvoyant because she was very much a medium. Her dad, my great grandfather, passed away, and she would be in her bed, but she would feel his presence, and like he would sit on the bed with her.
Yeah.
And I would always, anytime I was staying with my grandma at this age, I would sleep in bed with her.
Right.
And she'd be like, and I do remember this, she'd be like, do you feel Pawpaw? Because he's here. And I'd be like, you know what I mean? And
You're like, haha, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Grandma.
I know, at that
Time
time
for
I
bed.
was just like, at that time I was just like, whatever.
I'm a baby.
I'm 3 years old. But she used to say that all the time. She would say, oh yeah, like sometimes your great grandfather will like be here and visit and
He'll pop in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like sit, and she can like feel his presence.
That's so weird because my grandfather saw ghosts, my mom's dad, and he, like, the biggest thing was that they would come at night and wake him up in the middle of the night by sitting on the bed with him. So he'd wake up because he felt someone sitting on the bed. Like, every time he'd be like, oh, yeah, Dossie came, his sister who passed, came and wouldn't leave. She kept sitting on the bed all night. Through his whole life, they'd come in the middle of the night and sit on his bed. Anyway, so I'm just like, always freaks me out because that's so specific.
When I was a kid and I would stay at my grandparents' house, I was like still little, so the bed was like pretty big. I would like make them put pillows around me as like a fort because I was like, no, there's something coming.
No.
Yeah. Every time until I was probably like 10, because that's around the time I think they like moved out of that house. I would always like have like a pillow fort, like
As if
in
that's
the bed.
gonna do
right.
anything.
It's like if that's gonna do anything. But
So you felt like ghost in your bed?
oh yeah, because this house was like real. It was in Syracuse, New York. The house was crazy because it was so old and it was at the top of a hill.
Stephen King style. At the
Right.
top
It
of
was
a
like
hill,
how,
all
like how,
alone.
yeah. So, but that house was just, I was always at the end of the hallway in that one bedroom. It was my mom's bedroom when she lived there. And like something about it was just like,
Spooky.
always weird. And then like one time I switched with my brother. Brother felt nothing. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well that makes me feel like my grandma wasn't crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Not
Like,
alone, yeah.
That's like a
Well,
big
like-
thing
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a big thing, I think.
My grandmother and I think because of the trauma that my poor parents experienced with my sister and me bonding so much with my grandmother, there was so much time before I moved to South Carolina that I like spent and bonded with my grandmother. So
Yeah.
a lot of my early experiences happened with her. I was trying to recount like some more things that ever happened, and she had like a couple back surgeries when I was in like maybe 5th grade, I think, and she was in and out of the hospital. So I would always accompany her grocery shopping.
Right.
And I remember this one time we went to Walmart and we were like leaving. We had just checked out. We were leaving, and I was like, "Mama, that alarm is gonna go off." And she was like, "I know."
Wait, what?
And I was like, "Oh my God, like my grandma's gonna think I stole something."
Yeah.
And the alarm went off.
Like the thing
The,
when you
like,
walk out the doors?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And this lady came up and like checked the receipt and checked us and was like, "Oh, y'all good, go ahead." And I was just like, my grandma was just like, I knew it was gonna happen, and so did you.
That's crazy.
And we just like knew it, like that's how connected we were.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
wild.
Whenever you tell stories about her, like, I get this vibe, like Debbie Reynolds and in
Marnie.
Halloween Town.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Like,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like kind
I
of
see
the
it.
vibe that I've always, like, that's the image in my head of that kind of bond where
Yes.
it's like wink wink, like you and I know something nobody else knows kind of thing.
100%. That was always the two of us. And I really, not to get depressed, but like she passed away of a stroke when I was a freshman in college, and it like devastated me.
Yeah,
Like, I was
of
yeah.
course.
so devastated, and it was so at the College of Charleston. I don't know if other schools are like this. I'm certain they are. But the day before exams start, there's reading day.
Yes.
Reading day.
And I woke up after Dirties.
Yeah, we always have our big, like, raunchy, disgusting theater end of the year party, like
That. Yeah.
the
we
night
do the
before
same.
reading
Yeah,
day, so
that's
everyone's
what-
hungover when we
Correct.
don't have class.
Yes. Same.
So she had a stroke, and my mom drove up and was like, "Hey, it doesn't look good. Probably best to see if you can come up here."
Yeah.
And so I, emailed all my professors, and they were super nice, and I was able to go up there immediately after, being like completely distraught.
Of
Like,
course. Oh my God.
I was like, it's my first year in college, and I have all these exams. I had my trip and tones. I was an a cappella group. I had a concert that I needed to go to, and we went up. And we're in the emergency room, and we had to have the difficult conversation with the doctor, who was like, it's too late.
Right.
Right.
We had to call it a day, an 86 grandma, but
Jesus
Oh my God.
Christ.
I was like,
we use humor to cope. I'm doing everything I can not to cry. And so I remember being so devastated because all I wanted to do was just talk to her about my first year in college.
Yeah.
No.
And we went back to the house, and my grandma had, I don't know, I feel like every older parent has this, like, their chair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. At
And
100%.
So
For sure.
And so I remember I was sitting in my grandma's recliner, just weeping, just silently sobbing, as one does when their grandma dies. And I looked over to the left, and my grandma had this, like, what is it called? Like, what's
A shawl?
What's that little black thing that we use at my apartment that we like sit down?
The tray?
The
like
tray.
a lap tray.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
lap
yeah.
tray, but it had like a compartment. And my grandma, there was a period of time where she got really into coloring and like drawing. And I was like, I'm just going to pull it out. And in it, and I still have this note. And it's a note that she had written to
Stop.
me.
No.
That was not dated. It was not dated. And it was like, and it was just specifically to me that was like, hey, CJ, like, I just want to let you know that, like, if I'm not here in the future, I've always loved you and all that. And, like, literally everything that I needed to hear from her
Yeah.
at that moment. And I, like, really feel like she knew that it was going to happen. And, like, that was her reaching out to me to, like, open the tray and, like, find
Yeah.
Ugh.
it. So, whew.
Wow. First tears shed on my daddy.
Ooh.
By the way,
Sorry.
I am actually
Sobbing
crying. I had
over
a
here.
single tear. That's beautiful though,
Yeah.
and that's like the type of thing that I love to hear. Like, we talk about spooky, scary stuff all the time, but like those kind of stories are really what makes me like believe and love
absolutely. Yeah.
anything about the other side.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing that makes me like, all right, I feel okay about things.
Oh yeah.
I feel like people
are looking out for
I feel
us.
like people get stuck in the like ghosts are scary, ooh, and it's like, but there's so much more. Like there's
yeah, because and Homegirl is still kicking. Like I know that she's like she dabbles because and
she dabbles.
I know.
love that.
No, I know she dabbles. She like comes down and she's like, I don't like what you're doing right now. But I'm gonna send you a sign and fix it. I have some family drama. Not gonna get into it really like too difficult on the pod. But long story short, my aunt had been living with my grandmother at the time, and we were not able. I'm gonna say allegedly, in case you ever heard this. It was
Allegedly.
allegedly
you know, in case you ever wanted to sue
for legal reason.
But we could not locate the will, and this is how I know that my mom is also because my mom can tell if you are lying. She'll call me if she knows I'm feeling bad. Like she's so connected, and my aunt, we could not find the will. Like that, my mom. While I'm weeping reading this letter that my grandma wrote to me, my mom is like tearing the house apart trying to find the will because she said that my grandmother had told her if anything were ever to happen to her, this is where all the stuff to tie up loose ends would be.
Right. Yeah.
Couldn't find it. And my aunt was like, I don't know where any of this is. I don't like, and we're like, how do you not know you live here?
Live
right.
here.
Like
She really never mentioned it.
Yeah. And we were like, oh, whatever. So we fought basically to get the things that we wanted from my grandmother from her, and we did, but my aunt was arrested. My aunt was arrested and was not in the
there
house.
it is.
There it is. My mom called me and was like, hey, I'm on my way up to North Carolina. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, your aunt's arrested, and I'm going to go up there and I'm going to find the will. And,
Oh, hell yeah.
and I was like,
Donna?
and I
Yes.
was like, oh my, okay. And literally, my mom called me and she was like, found it. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, oh, I knew exactly where it was.
Wow.
And I was like, how did you know? She's like, I just knew. And I was like, that was Mama. Like,
Wow.
she,
yeah. She
Like,
was like,
here's the
"Here it is."
opportunity.
yeah, she was
We're like, we're not doing this. Like,
yeah.
wow.
And so my mom, she tries to be sneaky, but she is very witchy herself.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But her things, I think a lot of what I feel intuition-wise and stuff relates. I think my grandmother was more like a medium than she was like psychic.
Mm-hmm.
I think my mom is legit psychic, and I think that's where I get some things from because she experiences a lot of it via dreams, and that's how I experience a lot of like things.
That's I feel like a lot of the stories you told me have to do with dreams.
Let me give you a story. I have another story. Do you guys want to hear a story about a crazy premonition I had in a dream?
That is why we're here.
Thank you. Next, let's do it.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm just like
I'm here for it. I'm like, yes.
We're both sitting with like googly eyes at Clyde, like
ooh,
yeah.
tell me more.
Not me, Daddy.
So, and this is like verified. Like this is probably like the most prophetic I've ever been, I think. It was freshman year of high school. I went to this theater festival, and I met my friend Rachel Henderson. And Rachel and I were like, even though she went to a different school in Rock Hill, we were like 45 minutes apart. Mm-hmm. We were each other's prom dates, senior and junior year of college, high school. Oops.
Wow, you went to prom.
I know. Like, I had met her this, like, what, two days at this festival, and maybe some of her classmates, and then we just talked nonstop forever. She's actually getting married on New Year's.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
What are you doing?
So,
yes.
Anyway, so we used to talk on the phone every night after 6 when minutes are free. I know you Gen Zers don't understand what that means.
I was like, what? Oh,
it took
yeah.
me a second. I was like,
wait, remember when?
Yeah, and so
remember texting Twitter? And anyway, sorry.
Yes.
It's like,
I get in trouble for how many times I texted my little 6th grade boyfriend or whatever.
Yes. And so we would always talk on the phone every night. And so I knew about her life, she knew about mine, and we both did theater. And I had the weirdest dream. And so I called her the next day after she had rehearsal.
This is wild. I just want to go ahead and say this story is
I feel
fucking
this sounds
crazy.
familiar, so I might have heard this, but I'm excited.
Okay.
So okay.
And so Rachel called me and I was like, Rachel, can I tell you this weird dream I had? And she was like, okay. And she calls me a witch all the time, and did then too. And I was like, so I had a dream that your friend Hannah's mom was in the hospital, or got in a car accident, like in the hospital, and I like don't know why or what happened. I just remember like you calling me and you were like, she's in the hospital, like. And I really didn't know this girl well enough to like have a connection.
Be dreaming
Yeah.
You know,
about
right,
her.
right.
or
Sure.
like her mom of
Right.
all
Yeah.
reasons. And she's like, Clyde, you're so silly. So then we keep talking, and I hear Rachel's mom in the background go, Rachel, can you come here for a second? And she's like, yeah, hold on, Clyde, I'll be right back. And she comes back and she goes, Clyde, I have to go. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? And she goes, okay, so you're not going to believe this, but Hannah's mom didn't pick her up from rehearsal because she got in a car accident and is going to the emergency room.
What?
We have to go pick up
fuck.
Hannah and take
What
her
the
to
fuck?
the emergency
I can't.
room.
I
And
can't.
I was like, you're lying. I was like, you are
This is
lying.
Like, this is
silly.
a
And she's
joke. Like, ha
Yeah,
ha.
and she's like, no.
Unbelievable.
Like,
go.
G2G got to go. Like,
Yeah. And
What?
and we talk, like, we still talk about that.
In the
like,
same conversation, not like the next day
Right,
this randomly
right.
happened.
no,
Like
no.
holy
This was like
shit.
the same day that I told her.
that's
That's-
insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I never get over that fucking story. I think that's one of the first things you told me about yourself, and I was like, hold on a minute. I don't know
Okay.
about. I don't know about all this. What do you? Can you read my mind?
No, I wish.
That's insane.
And Gibson, you can attest to this. There are a lot of times where I can just either I'll say something's gonna happen, or I'm like, that doesn't feel right. Something like, I don't know, I have a bad feeling or something, and then sure enough, a couple minutes later, or I'll say
Yeah.
something and then it pops up on the TV.
Yeah, that happens often.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I will attest to it because, like, you know, you've tried to warn me about all my exes that you've known, and it all turned out to be
Ugh.
turned out to be true. Jokes.
Jokes.
That's not a joke, though. No, I mean, yeah, it is weird, and we have a lot of things where I feel like our friendship is connected in a weird way. Like, even today, it's silly, but
Oh, wait, are you talking about yesterday when we said the same thing?
yes,
Yes.
like we will
Okay, so this
send.
is wild.
I don't even remember what it was.
It was a journal. It was a pass-around journal.
Yes, it was like a TikTok
Yeah.
Okay.
about friends who pass around a journal like through the mail, and they share. It's a shared journal, so
Oh,
they'll
that's
pass it
cute.
around and
Yeah,
I'll fill
yeah.
it out, like the traveling
Sister,
pants.
yeah,
type of
I was
thing.
like, sister.
So we have like, okay, so this is gonna sound stupid, but like our close, like our college friends, like Caroline, Addie, Gibson, myself, we call ourselves the Blonde Bombshells.
Yes, I'm aware
And
of
as
this.
you heard
Yes.
from the Gettysburg episode, we all surprised Caroline for her engagement.
Yeah.
And so there's like a bigger branch of people that we call. I say Bomb Squad. I don't know if that's the official title, but I call us the Bomb Squad.
I don't know. It's a group of friends, and we have a chaotic group chat. All this
Yeah.
to say,
All this to say,
I didn't realize that Clyde had sent. It was like the exact same
at the
timestamp.
same exact moment.
It was like 7:33 p.m. yesterday, and it was like this TikTok, and I said like, we should do this with like a kissy emoji or something. And I looked and was like, because he had sent it to the other group at the exact same time
Yeah.
with basically the same message.
And I responded to Gibson's text, and I was like, "What was like? What you didn't want to do it with a
I was
big
like,
group?"
I didn't know you sent it.
So we literally
We do that all the. It's like all
yeah.
the time. Or I'll talk about a song, and he'll have just like tweeted about
Or
it.
you
I
guys-
don't know.
okay,
It's all
so
kinds of weird stuff.
You guys on the first, was it the first episode where you talked about Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, because
Yes.
my elementary school
Yes,
was
yes, yes,
on
yes.
Elm
Oh,
Street.
this is weird.
So
Oh,
this
no.
is weird. So like so that same day that I listened to you guys' first podcast, I was just holed up at home and I was like, what am I going to watch today? And I was like, I've never watched Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm going to watch it straight
No.
through. So I watch all of Nightmare on Elm Street and I'm like, ha 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 ha. And then
Because it's a comedy.
Yeah,
You know?
You
it's
guys-
a
no.
lighthearted comedy.
And you guys had released it.
In the morning.
In the
And
morning,
we just
yeah.
hadn't
And, like,
listened yet.
And Gibson had asked me to be on it, and so I'm like, I really, if I'm going to be on it, I need to listen to it. So I like am in the shower, like la 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 la, and then you guys are like, let's talk about you're like Elm Street, ha 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 ha. I've never seen that movie. Maybe I should see that movie. And I was like, what? Like I just watched this 20 minutes ago. And here they are talking about that. It's
Yeah.
like, and here's the deal. This could be me being psychic. This could be, just
Coincidence.
coincidence.
But I feel like that's not one of the movies that you're like when I think of like October and I'm like, what movie am I gonna watch? Like I never like that's
It's not the first thing that comes
right.
to
I'm like
mind.
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
I'm not like oh yes, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like
well, that's the thing. I have watched. That's the thing that cracks me up is and I was like, I watched Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say on you guys' podcast. I'm in the shower. You guys bring up Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm like, well, this is the moment. This is the moment.
this is it.
But yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's like...
Coincidence, sure. But I just have to say that our many years of friendship, it's always like me and you will say something or something happens and we'll both look at each other and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Weird. Like it's happened so often that at this point, like to the listener out there who doesn't know us, like it sounds silly, but I'm telling you, something's going on.
But it's stronger, I've noticed. It is stronger when we're together.
Absolutely.
And
well,
when
we lived together for 2
Yes.
years. And I only recently moved out and it's still going strong. But we hang out all the time. But I
Yeah.
feel like when we lived together especially, it was like every goddamn day.
Like, damn,
Like,
I gotta go to bed.
I just, those moments where it's like, is time an illusion? You know what I mean? Like,
we're getting into that.
No, I know it's like, weird, but like,
Yeah.
is it like, are we like on this like circle and we're just like phasing through and like something like connected to me? And like, this is weird because this is how my mind works, because even like right now as I'm talking, I like was thinking about this same conversation when I was in the shower, like thinking about
Yeah.
what I was going to say on this podcast and like wondering like, when we were joking about mental illness earlier, is this just me like unaware of where I am in time, like free floating, or
We're all just
like
specks of dust
yes
in the universe.
Have
It's
I just,
true.
have I just made you guys up and I'm just like, or are these glitches in the simulation? I don't know.
What are you
These-
talking
but
about,
it's-
Clyde? We've been here all along.
But I think if everyone were to open up, I know, some people call it their third eye, but like if you were just to open up and be aware of like the signs around you, I feel like there's a lot of things that the universe, like I feel like we put a lot of stuff out into the universe, but we don't notice what the universe brings back in. I mean,
I think
there's
we're kind of
karma, obviously, but-
taught to like ignore it.
Yeah, and I have never been that way.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother and even my mom, like we've just kind of been like, no, like
This is how it is.
something happens, you have to pay attention all the time. And I think that's why I get distracted so easily.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is for me, like why I'm such a believer in all things that we don't know, because we don't know shit about this universe. But it's we all kind of believe that, just people define it differently. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like if you are a religious person, if you're a Christian, you believe in a force in one way, or a Buddhist, you believe in another way, or if you just believe that there's ghosts.
You just
It's all similar is what I'm trying to say.
You just brought this memory back to me that I did not realize I had. And I remember talking to
Are we having a moment?
No, I remember talking to my so my grandmother's family was like super religious, and like
I'm
had, like,
obsessed with your grandma. I just want to know everything about your grandmother. Like
Sylvia
I'm
Jean
just like,
Carter.
ooh.
Oh wait till I tell you.
What,
the
yeah.
story. She
Sylvia?
shot somebody.
By the way,
Sylvia.
there's Carters in
Okay,
his family
come on.
as well.
Oh, yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
I don't know if we
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And we've tried to figure out if we're related because we down the line somewhere we probably are because my family's from South Carolina, his
Yeah.
family's from North Carolina.
Mm.
Carter's not that common of a name.
I honestly, I don't think I've ever met a Carter until I met you.
Yeah.
Like
So that's
yeah.
another thing we're
Yeah.
like,
But I remember, speaking of religious, like my grandmother was like super religious. But one of the conversations I remember distinctly having with her about, and I was probably learning about like Greek mythology or something, and she looked at me straight in the eye and said, "The Bible says that you're not supposed to worship other gods before me. Therefore, there probably are other gods."
oh,
And-
she cracked the code.
she cracked it. I honestly never even thought about that.
And like she said it very like
It's
that
one of
was
the
it.
10 Commandments.
Right.
Yeah, and she was like that's it. So like when you're saying like some people call it, I think and ever since she has said that,
I love it.
Oh,
For
it's-
those listening, Will has some still jazz hands up in disbelief
but literally
and shock.
like I feel like when she said that, like I think looking at her as this like super like religious woman who I thought she was,
Yeah.
even though she would say all these like crazy like prophetic things that would come true, I was like, oh my god, like my grandma's totally right. I think that like what the collective thought of whatever we put out can materialize, and I think that that is true. I think that there are other things out there that we just
Yeah.
don't know about,
Yeah.
and who's to say what's right and what isn't?
Yeah.
We're getting existential.
I'm just like, ooh, thinking. Yeah, because I feel like growing up in a religious family, it was kind of like the way I was taught, like, put no God before me or whatever, is like, there is nothing else. Like,
It's me, bitch.
it's me,
Worship
bitch. I'm
me.
the only one.
Yeah.
Everything else, people just made up. It's not real. And then I'm like, well, maybe not.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Maybe
Who
they're.
are you to say?
Yeah, maybe this is just like.
We're a tiny speck. We are one galaxy in an endless universe that we have never explored and know nothing about. Who the
True.
fuck are we to say what is or isn't absolutely like real or
Right.
not? You
But
know?
also, if anyone has ever taken a religious studies class, like Christianity, like we all.
Let me tell you, I took one religious
I
studies
was
class.
basically a minor. I was.
I
Sorry.
took one religious studies class in high school, and it was horrible, first of all. But secondly, since it was a religious studies class in a public school, it like couldn't be funded by the school, you know, because like
Uh-huh.
it's about one religion.
Right.
Basically, they had this class had to have like a big fundraiser every year to make money to like pay the teacher and
Sure.
like pay for the class. But basically, I took this class, and because they had to raise so much money, the whole class was basically just about this fundraiser. And I actually never learned anything about
Actually,
religion.
you learned exactly what religion is about.
Honestly,
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
like,
point.
wait a
A
minute.
good
That
point.
class was called Tithes and Offerings.
I mean, that is pretty fucking crazy. Like, yeah, that's it.
I remember finishing that class, and I went, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
I didn't.
Now I'm baked in his blood. No.
No,
So yes,
Wow.
okay. So
That
yes.
is that's a hilarious like metaphor for like what's wrong.
It
with
honestly,
religion.
yeah. It was
really
literally.
is.
I was like, I learned nothing. I think in total, I learned like. No, I couldn't tell you a thing. I didn't learn a thing. I learned fundraising.
From the religious class I took because I had to take a first year seminar class at College of Charleston that was sex and religion and sex and modern or throughout history.
Ooh.
Oh no.
That was it was a 3-hour class. It was gruesome. They don't offer it anymore at the college, but it was a great.
I was about to say I would have taken it.
It was a
if
great
it was.
class.
That sounds
but
like my jam.
But it taught us how much religion has like been dictated through sex and like procreation and like
misogyny.
and but like also like being able to expand, like spilling of the seed is bad because you need to be careful, but basically it boils down to like Christianity is not the end all be all. There's been so many religions and there's so many different walks of life and stuff, and it's crazy. The college is great. The college, speaking of the college, this is a great segue. The college is where I saw my first like corporal spirit, like in
ghosts.
full body.
I would love to talk about this because I feel like if there's categories of ghosts out there, we've talked about ghosts that don't even know they're dead, or they're in a loop, and they're stuck in their routine,
right?
And that's kind of like, I feel like the ghost I saw in the Yorktown was like that. I feel like this ghost story is kind of, that's the type of ghost you probably saw.
That doesn't know their dad, just kind of like on a repeat, or just like living
like
their
stuck
daily
in
life.
Their time, which I find very fascinating.
Yes, I find that fascinating. I also want a movie about it. I want a movie. Okay, picture the movie.
Okay, I'm ready.
We see this whole movie. It's like a period piece. You watch the whole thing, and then big plot twist at the end. They're all dead. They're ghosts.
And they're just, they have no idea they're dead the whole time.
They have no idea. Like, they're like doing their thing, and then like someone in modern day clothes like walks through them because they didn't see them. And it's like, boom, they're all dead. It's ghosts.
Wait,
you see?
Oh my god, I want to tell that there's a movie very similar to that, but it's kind of a really big plot twist.
The Sixth Sense?
No, it's not that one. It stars.
Okay, we'll bleep it out. Bleep. Okay, what is it?
The Others with Nicole Kidman.
The Others.
Oh, I've never seen that.
I have never seen it either, but it's on one of those like biggest plot twists, and it's like you learn at the end the others because they think that they're being haunted, but it turns out they've been dead the whole time.
They've been haunted.
We gotta watch it. Let's watch it. The three of us.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye,
guys.
Bye.
No, I really want to watch that.
No.
I just got I just want to say I just got a very weird chill.
Ooh. They're on to us.
And anyway, let's dive into this. Oh, yes. Your ghost story
I feel weird talking about that. Like, there's like a weird thing.
I don't know why. There's a weird energy that just happened. That I feel cold. I feel.
Did we break the code on something? Is there?
See, this happens when I'm around.
Ooh. Okay. So yes.
Where should I start? Okay, for starters, if you go to the College of Charleston, when you graduate, the guys wear white dinner jackets and tuxedo pants, and girls wear white dresses. It's very southern.
It's
graduation.
Very hot.
Graduation.
Oh, it's hot because you don't do gowns.
We graduate outside.
Crazy.
And it's like Charleston, South Carolina. It's 1,000 degrees in May. It's so humid.
The theater department graduation?
This is the entire school.
Okay, entire school.
Okay, because at my school, basically, like, because my school was bigger, but we had like our theater graduation, which like that's all I did, and then
it was separate.
It was separate. It was like the day before, and then or like the day of in the morning, and then like if you wanted to, you could go in the afternoon to the stadium. Which was outside, but it always rained. For the 5 years I was at college, every time they had the stadium graduation, it rained every single time. We would have our theater graduation, and we always went. And then, like, the minute hours ended, it always started raining.
Weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, understand.
Yeah, no, it's the whole school, and it's just kind of, it's broken up into 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, it's like the different schools.
Yeah, so like the theater and dance, and then music, but we're also with...
And the School of Education.
Okay.
Yeah,
but so basically, it's like not the whole school, it's just categories of groups of like...
Yeah, it was us and like 2 other
like the School of like Fine Arts and Education or something like that. Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's called
beautiful.
The Cistern, and it's
just
stunning. I mean, we'll post a picture of the cistern to show, because it's these gorgeous oak trees and Spanish moss leading up to like this old building, and then the cistern, I guess.
Yeah.
You
and
know more because you were a tour guide.
Yeah, not to be too a tour guide. I was the presidente. And I will give some. I'm going to give some dates, but if
please.
But like don't quote me on this because it's been a while since I've given a tour. Basically, when we graduate, we sit on the cistern, which used to be the big it was the water supply for the town of Charleston, but they paved over it and there's like grass there. And what they'll do and it was built in 1850 in the 1850s. I'm just going to say everything was the 1850s.
Yeah.
Besides Randolph Hall, which was built in the 1828.
Which that's the building right behind, right?
Right. Which is the
wow,
one.
Yikes.
Yeah. So Randolph Hall is the really old building, which used to be the entire, like the whole school used to be held in there. And now it's branched out to a 4x4 block radius. Even though the school was founded in 1770 and chartered in 1785. We're the 13th oldest school in the
Oh my
nation.
God.
So that's
yeah.
the cistern, and that's what you walk across that like thing that's kind of raised.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
That's the cistern.
And if you're following along, you'll see this on the Instagram. So you walk out and you sit on the cistern, and to the right of it is our school's original library, which is Toll Library, which was also built in the 1850s. And then once you finish graduating, you walk out underneath Porter's Lodge, underneath this thing that says Know Thyself, which was also built in the 1850s, and it is what it is. So,
Okay.
I was sitting on this. So, I was also an orientation intern. And when I was doing that, I think the first night of orientation, we would do this thing called Orientation After Dark, where we would get a whole bunch of freshmen or incoming freshmen. We'd be like so excited that you're going to be here. We'd walk around downtown Charleston. We'd get froyo.
Because the campus is very much like a part of the downtown.
Okay.
It's not like separate. It's very
Yeah.
much like weaved and woven into the downtown city.
And so it's like, you know, everything is like super historical, and Charleston's one of the most haunted places on earth, you know, if you think about it. I mean, our newest library was built over a Civil War burial ground. Like, it's like...
No.
Yeah,
It's not cute to be in at night by yourself.
Oh,
so
no.
it's like hella spooky at night. And so
They're like, what are all these books doing here?
so all the kids
What's a Starbucks doing on my grave?
I know, those poor slaves. And so all the kids, you know, we go around, we have a fun all time, and they leave. And so me and my friend Rashad, who's also an orientation intern, unpacking like everything that just happened. We're also unpacking this long day of orientation because we get up at like 5 a.m. So, you know, and at this point it's like 10 o'clock at night and we're just tired and
chit-chatting,
hot.
venting about the day.
You know, the usual things that you do with coworkers. And I am just rocking back and forth, and Rashad is on my right, and right past Rashad is where Toll Library is. And so I'm looking at Rashad and I'm talking, and I'm just like going back and forth. And I go up forward, and I see a man standing right there on Toll Library on the steps in full graduation garb, like white dinner jacket, red boutonniere, just staring there. He had black hair and like these like stone, like cold blue eyes, like just staring at me. And I rock back and I go forward, and that man's not there anymore. And when I tell you I shit my pants, I didn't, but I almost did.
And
like,
this is not graduation time.
No,
Obviously,
it's
we
not.
shouldn't have to say that, but it's not like graduation was coming up. This is orientation. It's a different month entirely.
And it wasn't like I was sleep deprived. Like, obviously I was probably like tired, but like I napped. I always nap before I did orientation after dark, which was one of the perks of like being in charge. That I got to leave early.
This is like what I'm trying to find a picture of someone graduating. Like, this is like the outfit.
Yes. Okay. Literally just
red
standing
rose,
there.
Always red rose.
And gone in a flash. Like, was standing there full body. And I was like, we have to get out of here. Like, we have to get out of here.
I'm on like the verge of tears from just being in shock.
Yeah.
I'm like...
I can't imagine, like, in the middle of the night. I mean, this campus is spooky.
Yeah.
Like, just seeing someone in full graduation. Like, nobody wears that. You have to find that dinner jacket very specifically. You have to order your stuff. Like, it's very specific. Nobody's walking around wearing a white tux.
No. And so that's why, and so I'm like, scary. So like, that is the first, I don't know who it is. I don't know. I would really, maybe one day I should research and see, like, if
if somebody passed away like right after graduation, or if there was an
something like that.
accident.
But, like,
Graduation,
I
on
just
the way
saw-
to graduation.
It was insane.
Everybody's always wasted, so that's part of it. That's really freaky.
Well, they used
Yeah.
to serve. So back in the day at the college, they stopped doing this about like 5 or so years before I got there. But they used to give everyone like mimosas and have like a little brunch in like the Maybank area, and like, but they stopped doing it because everyone got too drunk and people would pass out on the cistern because it's so hot.
It's so
like,
hot.
Oh,
Even if you're
no.
sober, I almost passed out.
Oh, I did
and I
not.
had like
Oh.
one. I think I had like a mimosa.
I
or
was like
something.
so dehydrated by the end.
Okay, hear
was
me out.
Awful.
It was
As
awful.
beautiful as it might be, concept. Stay with me on this.
Okay.
Have it inside.
No.
No, tradition.
Tradition. It's a tradition,
Honestly,
but also they do the if you graduate early, like, or if you have a December graduation,
Right.
they have it in our basketball stadium. What
Right.
is that called? I don't even remember.
TD Arena.
TD Arena.
Yeah.
So they do have a graduation indoors, and if it like rains
Yeah.
or something, they'll switch it indoors. But it's basically like, oh, well, shit, I don't get my moment to
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
across the cistern
Yeah.
in my white dress or
Yeah.
my white.
No, because literally,
Jacket.
like the
It's a
cistern
big
is
thing.
like
I
it's
totally
very like
get
the
it,
cistern
yeah.
is. I don't know if like superstition also counts, but there's a huge
Yes.
superstition that like if you cross
You can't
the
walk
cistern,
around until you graduate.
yeah, because if you do, you will add an extra year. And guess who was singing at Convocation with the Trippin' Tones? And it started raining, and we had to run off the cistern. And guess who had to go to college of Charleston 5 years?
Clyde Moser.
Yep. But that's also I got an extra degree, but like still.
At our school, it's called the cupola,
Ooh.
and it's like this little.
Francis
me-
Ford Coppola.
Let me see if I can
That was
just
a good
pull up
one.
a
No, I
quick little
appreciate
photo.
that.
But the thing was, if you went under the cupola before you graduated, you'd either like you wouldn't finish school, and some people took it as far as like you would die. Like
Oh yeah. We never took it that far.
No. It was either like you.
You wouldn't, or it'd take you long. You basically would get fucked
Yeah.
school-wise.
yeah, so it was basically like I imagine our school is like imagine Central Park with a college in it.
Okay.
That's your
Cause-
school?
It's not obviously not that big, but like that's how it was kind of set up.
Okay.
And then the town was all around it.
Okay,
And
so
then-
it was,
nice.
okay.
And then in the middle of that college Central Park was we called it the mall, but it was basically just a big long
strip of yard.
grass. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the middle of that is the cupola,
Oh, okay.
What is the cupola?
and that's what it looks like.
Oh, it's like a little gazebo.
Yeah,
Gazebo.
yeah, and it's got a little lights on it, and then there's like
It looks creepy, I gotta say.
Oh, it's pretty creepy. At like night, there's like lights inside of it, but and then there's like a little plaque in the middle. If you go in it, you like won't graduate / die.
So do a lot of people like take pictures
When
in
they
the cupola
graduate,
when they graduate?
yeah, they like the day after graduation or like right before graduation, people
Sure.
like risk it all and like go under it.
That's interesting.
And that's-
Yeah, I feel like every school probably
Aw.
has.
They
like,
probably has a little
a
something, and it's
tradition.
like yeah,
It's also so gorgeous that like it's kind of. I hate to say it's kind of worth it for the
Yeah.
sunburns and the fainting because it's so pretty.
right.
You just got to wear lots of sunscreen, y'all.
That's so true.
And our theater history professor, when I graduated, gave us all like a bunch of fans that
Oh,
she
that's
had
cute. Yeah,
gotten
yeah.
like from her travels.
That was me.
Oh,
No.
Oh,
no.
you're-
When I graduated,
I gave everyone fans my. Sorry, I was
Yes.
like, wait a second.
no. This was Catwinkle. We love
Yes,
her.
my bad.
Susan Catwinkle.
what a name!
No,
She must
she
have
gave us
stolen
like
my
all of
idea.
these fans from like her travels in like Asia and stuff.
That's cute.
And it was like we were all like, thank God,
Yeah.
because it's so hot.
See, do you guys want to hear another?
Yes,
ghost story?
please.
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely.
we have been chatting a lot about college days.
I hope this is good content.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
it's
absolutely,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm loving it.
So another highlight. So I was with our friends Caroline and Steven.
Hey, oh my gosh, yeah.
I love when Gibson perks up when she knows where the story's going.
I'm like, what? Tell me more.
So Caroline and Steven met when they were resident actors at the Dock Street Theater, which is like one of the oldest theaters in Charleston.
Okay.
It's one of the most haunted places in
Great,
Charleston
fantastic.
too.
So I am just now meeting Steven, like, for the first time. So they lived in these apartments in Mount Pleasant. Like,
Which
all
is,
the
like,
resident actors.
Right over, there's a bridge that connects to downtown and Mount Pleasant, and it's like a, if it was like New York, it would be a borough
Okay.
Right.
of Charleston.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because it's right over the,
Like
it
that.
is, like, I'm from West Ashley, which is a
Yes.
borough, like, not far from downtown, and then Mount Pleasant is on the other side of the Cooper River. So you
Yeah.
go over bridge, you're in Mount
And
Pleasant.
is it the Brooklyn? Is it the
Ooh, this
is it
is
the-
like
It's like the bougie,
Bougie,
ridge.
yeah.
it's the Manhattan?
It's like, it would be like,
like
the Upper East Side.
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. Cool.
My grandma lives there.
And so I go over to Caroline's and she pulls out the big sofa bed and we're all just sitting and chilling, and she had told me before that she was certain there was like a ghost in the apartment. And I was like, I don't you know, I haven't seen anything when I've been over here, but like whatever. And so that's the reason. So Stephen, Caroline, and I are all up on this big pull-out sofa bed watching this movie, and it's like late at night, and to the right of the TV there's a stereo, and she was like, no, I'm so serious, like we'll come back and the stereo's on and playing.
Yeah, she always talked about the stereo would turn on in the middle of the night, or it would be like off and they'd come home and it's blaring, and it was just like weird.
Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know why, but there was like a water bottle on top of it, and I think a movie cover or like maybe like a DVD like
Stack.
something like that. And we're watching this movie, and at the same time, all three of us snap our heads to look at the water bottle, and it shoots across the room. Like just, and Caroline goes, "Did you all?" And I went, "Yep." And she was like, "So we all saw?" Yeah. No, that.
I'd be like, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will
so
be going
much.
home.
I
Like
have
we
to
were
leave
just
now.
like we were all like, ah! Like, like we just, it literally, like for some reason, I don't know how, all three of us just instantly knew where to look, and it jetted across the room.
Fuck my life.
I would burn the stereo. I would burn it. I would never drink water again.
I would rather die.
I would rather be a ghost than
Yeah.
Did you guys, or did Steven
I think
sage
I
the
think
place
Steven-
after? I
yeah.
feel like after that, you guys talked about, like, after that, it was like, all right, it's time to
we
cleanse
were,
this
we were
fucking
like,
place.
we're going. Like, we are going to get rid of this. And so Steven, who has had multiple experiences with ghosts, saged the place, and he, like, felt the presence leave.
When he was cleansing the place, he, like, didn't hear something, but he felt and heard a voice in his mind.
Yeah.
Like, felt something wave, like, wash over him that's, like, annoyed. Like, ugh, I wasn't going to do anything. Like, he felt like a female presence be like, I wasn't even going to do anything. Like she was pissed off that he was doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, thank you.
And then, like, my most recent ghost experience was at the apartment that I live at now. And it was like...
I lived there too, and some shit would happen.
Yeah, it was, like, weird. I love our apartment. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
It's just one of those old New York buildings that's been renovated, but has definitely been...
It's one of those things where it's like, these apartments are old.
Yeah.
Like,
we're also on the first floor.
I looked
I
up,
feel like a lot of energy
like the apartment we're in right now, I looked it up, and this apartment was built in 1923.
Wow.
Ooh.
I feel like
pretty
our
sure.
place is probably around the same time.
No problem.
Because you can go online and you can find photos. It like has a map of New York in like whatever year you want to look at, and you can find photos as far back as you want of what your apartment looked like.
Oh my God.
So I typed in my apartment and it showed me this apartment and it said built 1923.
Let's do that after this.
Yeah.
But it's also, so I'm just saying, it's like, it's so old. So it's like,
they've been around forever.
how many families, how many actors, how many like people have lived in all these apartments year after year? It's like, of course people have died.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's insane.
But there was that first time, probably like a year ago, when you and I felt something.
Oh.
I feel like the first
Here,
year...
you tell this story.
Okay.
I've been talking a while.
Sorry, this is very chaotic because I feel like when Clyde and I get together and we're like having fun, it's just like blah, 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 and you blah, blah, blah.
I know,
And
we do that gross thing where we stop talking halfway through a sentence because the other person already knows where we're going. And
Sorry.
Sorry.
How dare you?
It just means we're having a good time. But I feel like the first year that we lived in this apartment in Washington Heights, not much happened ghosty. Like, nothing really happened the first year.
No.
And then the second year, shit went down for some reason. It's like they were trying to warn us about 2020.
Literally. Oh my God.
But we were watching Peter's season of The Bachelor. That's how I know what time period
Wow.
this was. So probably, yeah,
That
I guess it
feels like a lifetime
almost a year ago. It truly does.
Oh,
A year ago? No, that
Or
feels
maybe
like
it was like January. I mean, like a lot would happen with noises and stuff in our apartment. Like
or us feeling like being touched.
Yes, like our roommate Matthew would feel touched in bed. Like I would feel something weird, but nothing concrete.
Yeah.
And this one night we're watching an episode of Peter. Fucking what a douche. Love you. No, just kidding, I don't. So we're watching this episode. It's just the two of us. It's like not that late at night. We weren't even heavily drinking or anything. Yeah. And we both
I don't even think I probably
don't think we were
was
drinking at all.
Because I usually don't drink unless we're like partying.
Yeah. So we both it's kind of similar to the water bottle story. We both looked to our left where our couch is against the wall, and then to the left there's like the hallway that's like the bathroom, the kitchen, down
For a
to
second
the front
I was
door.
like, I've been to your home. I don't know why you're explaining it. And then
Explaining
I was
to
like,
our
ah, yes,
friends.
we're on a podcast. Yes, correct.
So to the left there's like the hallway. It's like the walkway of the whole apartment. All of a sudden we both look over to the left and hear the sound of like bare feet hitting the floor. And I didn't see a figure.
I didn't see a figure either.
But it was like the energy of the room moved.
It was like the light. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the
light
shifted. Like shifted and it looked fuzzy for a hot second. And then I swear there was like a draft. There was like, you know how like when someone walks by you, it was like literally that.
I really like felt this wave of terror.
Yeah.
I mean, like I can feel it right now. It was one of those, someone's like in the apartment next door making noise and I'm like, ooh. But
I just got
shivers.
I know. I'm like, you're saying this and I'm kind of like.
But it was the sound that I really remember.
Yeah.
Because it was, you know, the sound of on these like fake hardwood floors, your bare foot hits the floor like that.
Yeah.
It was like that sound. And the feeling of the room shifted when we looked over. Because I looked over because suddenly it was like that feeling when you think you're home alone.
Right.
Yes.
But actually your roommate's here the whole time and you get spooked for a sec. Because you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize another human's here.
When you're home alone and then
okay,
you're still home alone.
Exactly. So like that's what I felt. It was like suddenly there's a third person in the room.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I remember looking over and then being like, there is someone else here. And so this brings me to my most recent experience it was me and Gibson had already left because of the pandemic.
Oh, I just got chills.
Gibson already
I went back to Charleston for a few months in the spring.
Yeah, and I was turning off all the lights in the living room because I was about to go to bed. And I got to the corner of like basically the threshold, which is I think why this happened because I was in a threshold, which is an in-between place. Mm-hmm. And for those of you listeners who don't know about spirituality and stuff, there's a lot of, you know, anytime you have like a windowsill or a threshold or midnight, that's in between places where things can cross different dimensions. That's neither here nor there, whether or not you believe it, but that's where I was.
That's very interesting.
So I was in the threshold, and all of a sudden, I felt a hand go down my back, and someone go, no. And I would have screamed. I screamed. I woke up Matthew. I FaceTimed Caroline because you were asleep. And it was like, I was like, you guys, something just touched me. There is something in here, and I did not sleep at all that night. I would have
left.
Absolutely not.
It's terrifying.
I think you did call me, and it took like 1 or 2 times for me to answer. But I answered, and then I was like, wake up, Matthew. Oh, you already did that.
I think
now I'm getting myself spooked.
I'm like getting a little spooked. I think so. Like with like
ew,
ghosts and spirits and all that. It's like I feel like there's different levels of like how much they can communicate with us,
right.
And there's the level of like feeling something around, and then there's a level of like touch, and then I feel like hearing them speak is like one of the strongest things
a clear
before
voice.
Before being seen.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's big.
Or, I don't know. I just feel like that, like them speaking
and touching me
and touching at this. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, it was not a pleasant experience. But
so you were just turning all the lights off.
Yeah, but since then
they
I
said
burned
party's
a lot
not
of
over.
Palo Santo.
Oh yeah.
And ever since then, I haven't really noticed anything since I burned.
Yeah, that's true. You cleansed the space.
I did cleanse the space many a time.
But I just remember the how scared you sounded over the phone, and I was like, okay, so this is legit. Like, this happened and was very scary.
Yeah.
But it's like, all this time we kept seeing something or feeling something, and then finally they were just like,
Yeah, and of
but
course
I wonder
it's
why.
me.
Well,
of course, yeah.
I'm just like, I come in peace.
That's
I'm
the
here
thing.
Peacefully.
I do think that a lot of the time ghosts will reach out. I don't know anything, but I feel like ghosts will reach out to people who are open,
yeah,
or who have good energy,
right.
Because they're drawn to that, like how children are more susceptible to seeing things and hearing things and stuff, because it's like that innocence and stuff. And I feel like you have a very bright, good light of goodness about you.
Thank you.
That's probably part of why I think they're drawn to you.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
That goes back to what I was saying
yeah.
earlier about like paying attention to the signs and like what the universe.
Oh no.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have to wrap it up
That
because I'm
was
getting
really
I'm
freaky.
getting a little too spooked.
I just wanted to say that like I do believe that if you pay attention to what the universe is trying to tell you and you open up your third eye or whatever,
Trying to tell us something right now.
I know, or whatever, there is a chance for something. If you're sending out a signal, someone is going to pick up at the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really just depends on, luck of the draw.
And that's why you should always try to give out positive
Absolutely.
For
energy and try to not, don't get dabbled up in, bad shit, because bad shit will come back. And
right.
I believe that 100%. Anytime I do something that I feel like I should have done that, and something bad happens to me, I'm like, I deserve this. This is because I talk shit about
everybody
something.
makes mistakes, but
Everybody has those days.
everybody knows what I'm talking about. Well, are there any other little tidbits, little stories that you have, or is that?
I feel like you could come back for another episode because
totally.
there's so much. So
Yeah.
hope you come back for another episode because
Yeah.
I feel like there's just so much.
Be careful that on a new moon, these are just things that I remember learning growing up. Be careful on a new moon. Always throw salt if you spill it. If a black cat crosses in front of you, circle XX in front of you, and circle with your hands. Circle,
With your
circle, XX. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
My mom's the one who taught me that.
Yeah.
One. And at the end of the day, if you put something out there, it'll come back. If it's malicious, it'll come back 3 times 3. But at the end of the day, if you do your best, you might just be able to see the signs to have a really great life. And maybe it'll connect you to some of your closest friends. And you can share the experiences together.
And that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
On Hot Me Daddy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
This was so fun.
It was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
I'm
having me.
I feel like we need to watch something or
I'm
eat
like
those
pleasantly cold.
cookies. I'm like,
I
I'm
know.
like, ooh.
You guys heard we had our first tears. We had our first legit spook on the live on the show. So it's been a big episode. Thank you so much for coming.
yeah.
You know I
Thank
love you
you.
so fucking much.
It's a joy. My heart is very full right now.
I know.
I love this.
We're about
This
to have our second tear-eyed moment.
I think next week is Thanksgiving, so we're skipping a week.
Yes, but we'll be back. Please stay home for God's sake.
Please stay home. I know you love your
Be
family,
safe.
but you don't have to travel. You don't have to go out to eat.
Yeah, just
Just
let's
be
all
safe.
stay home and stay safe so we can have some fun next year. And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
And thank you
Thanksgiving.
guys so much for tuning in. Find us
Yes.
on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh yes, my
Yeah, plug your socials.
yes, plug
and
yourself.
You've podcasts you're
Oh,
a part of
yes,
as
yes,
well.
yes, yes,
Please
yes.
do.
So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So I couldn't think of anything else. At As Told by Clyde.
Love
That's
it.
Fantastic,
CLYDE.
yes.
I also do this podcast called Cohabitation.
Cohabitation.
Yes, where you can hear me singing the theme song, so check that out. And I do produce cabarets with Tier 5 Theater Company, which is a super fun, inclusive, queer theater organization. And if you have any, witch stuff, if there are any fellow witches out there who want to reach me, please get in contact. It would be
Yeah.
lovely. I'm
Ring-a-ding-ding.
also really single, so. But yeah.
Yeah, and get in touch with us if you have spooky stories, witchy stories,
Yeah,
whatever,
absolutely.
at hauntmedaddy@gmail.com. Until next time.
Until next time,
Haunt me,
Daddy.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Come play with us.